How does one recover from a devastating, crippling incident? How does one go through the valley of the shadow of death? Good morning. This is Malou Coronacion, author of the book FYFM. Follow You, Follow Me, a Pilgrim's Gospel. When God invites us to come follow Him, what does that entail? Do we follow Him all the way? Or can we stop and cry out, I want out, God, or I didn't sign up for this, when it looks like He is leading us through hell? I have been a Jesus follower since I was 16. As a follower, I think I did my best to get to know Him and His ways. And yes, I always knew that God knows me from the inside out, from the tip of my head to my toes. God knows me so well. We built a relationship so strong. I came to a point that I know that our relationship is tight. I call Him Papa God or Papa G, and I'm His daughter. That's how it is. And so life went on. Even at a young age, I wanted to give my life to God. I wanted to be a missionary. I was in awe of the saints, especially Saint Francis of Assisi. And so I planned to become a Franciscan missionary. What I thought was my road to sainthood. But that didn't happen. Instead, I became a wife and a mother to three beautiful souls, Justine, Emmanuel, and Gabrielle. I found out there are other ways to sainthood. I failed in being a wife, and I became a single parent. I tried my best to maintain close contact with my Papa God, though of course I struggled at times. One aspect I worked on was my prayer time. This is my alone time with Him, which I thought was vital if you want any relationship to go any deeper or stronger, right? So I developed different styles of prayers. I have my talk prayers, where I talk to Him at any time of the day. I talk to Him about any topic under the sun. Sumbongs, heartaches, cuentos. I also have what I call my write prayers, where in my journal I write my thanksgivings and my requests to Papa God. These thanksgivings and these journals have been detailed and specific, which is a good thing because I can go back whenever I want to recount or revisit my blessings. Lately, I have developed what I call my walk prayers. I wish I can say life was dandy until I came to my valley, but it was not so. Our journey, my journey with my children, was fraught with challenges. There were several life-threatening experiences with them, but hey, I am a child of God, and they are God's children too. And so we were always safe in God's protective hands. We always come out of these nerve-wracking experiences broken but alive. And I thanked Him. Amidst all these ordeals, my friends would tell me to be strong or be stronger. Hang in there, you can do this, you're tough. There were times I would cry out to God and question Him. Why did you have to make me tough? Sana hindi na lang. Should I have seen that God was training me or setting me up for something I have no idea of? I'm sure you have heard of the saying, God will not give you more than you can handle. That was embedded in my heart and in my mind. I knew all these trials would come to pass. Nothing and no one can come between us. Nothing can separate us from God's love. No weapon formed against us can prosper. God's faithfulness reaches to the clouds. That was the state of my faith when I came to my valley. This valley of the shadow of death, as I call it, where my faith in Papa God will be put to the test. Psalm 91 says, "He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High, who abides in the shadow of the Almighty, will say to the Lord, my refuge and fortress, my God in whom I trust. For he will give his angels charge of you to guard you in all your ways. On their hands they will bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone." He who trusts in the Lord will be safe. Yes, supposedly. August 12, 2017. There was a major accident on the highway going to Manila. A blue Honda City rear-ended an 18-wheeler dilapidated truck carrying 40 tons of cement. And because the car was moving at around 90 kilometers per hour, and the truck, being dilapidated and very heavy, was moving at around 30 kilometers per hour, can you imagine? It was as if a giant had crumpled the car like a soda can. The car was beyond recognition. People who saw the vehicle were sure that not one passenger of that Honda could have survived. They were wrong. I know. I know because that was our car. My son Justin, who was behind the wheel at that time, thank God, he survived. I was seated behind him and I was alive after 3 days in the hospital. My youngest daughter, my beautiful daughter Gabby, who was sitting on the front passenger seat, did not make it. After 3 days in the ICU and after 2 brain operations, she passed on. I was in shock. This can't be right. God couldn't be doing this to me. This was just a dream and I will soon wake up. It wasn't a dream. Soon we were holding her wake and we were listening to Gabby's friends' eulogies. And soon we cremated her body. It was becoming more real. But it was as if God was telling me, follow me, hold my hand and do not let go. A friend I had not been in contact with for 3 years started messaging me and taught me how it is to live one day at a time. Count the days, she said. If it's still too difficult for you, then do it one breath at a time or one step at a time. It's like learning how to walk again, putting one foot in front of the other. At that time, I have been living like a zombie. No motivation except to live. Breathe in, breathe out, live. Wake up, have breakfast, prepare for work, go to work, talk to people, go home, have dinner, prepare for sleep, cry some more, go to sleep. One day at a time. Another friend gave me a book that led to a support group called Morning to Morning, where I met people who are also groping their way in the dark, learning to put one foot in front of the other. I found companions on this road I didn't want to walk on, but I had to. One day, I was talking to an office mate and she told me her story. She had a sister who died in an accident just like Gabby, and her mother died of a stroke, barely 2 years of grieving her daughter's death. She believed it was grief that killed her mother. That struck me. I thought of my two other children, Justin and Iman, who, yes, were already adults and probably can survive without me, but I thought, hey, I still want to see them doing adult things. I thought of William, who I want to grow old with, and I thought of my Team Sunstars, who I was supposed to be leading. But because I was a zombie, I was failing and unfeeling during that time, and I don't want to die on them. Not yet. Anyway, Paulo Coelho wrote in his book, The Pilgrimage, and I quote, "We must never stop dreaming. Dreams provide nourishment for the soul, just as a meal does for a body." And it hit me. I must start dreaming again. I have to motivate myself, but where do I start? Or how do I start? I decided to do something which was in my bucket list, and I was supposed to have done this on my 50th year. I went on a pilgrimage, the Camino de Santiago, or the Way of St. James. It is among the top three most popular Christian pilgrimages, along with Jerusalem and Rome. And if you are going to do it completely, the Way of St. James will take about 30 days and around 800 kilometers. You walk that pilgrimage. It's an 800-kilometer walk. I decided for my first time that I will walk just the last leg, 120 kilometers. My cousin Aiden, who was from Hong Kong and who also loves to walk just like me, went with me. Every day, we would start to walk at around 6 a.m., which was still very dark. It was like nighttime. The sun rose every 8 a.m. We would start by praying the rosary together, and then because she's such a fast walker, she would go ahead and she would be waiting for me at some points, usually where there's coffee. For an INFJ like me, introvert, intuitive, feeling, and judging personality, that was heaven right there. I did many hours and hours of talk prayers and walk prayers, and at night I did my right prayers. I did a lot of healing during my Camino. I am looking forward to doing my second one after this pandemic ends, and this time I would do a longer one, maybe 10 or 12 days of walking and seeing more of Spain, eating more paella, and drinking their wine. I plan to do the whole stretch later on, walking the 800 kilometers in 30 days, probably when I'm 55 or 56. So there, I have another one in my bucket list. I found another thing to do. I now get excited when I think of them. Now, as I wrote in my book, it seems there are two general chapters in my life: BD, before death, and AD, after death. I used to be self-conscious in talking to people about my grief, as I didn't want to sound emo. On the other hand, I can speak openly about Gabby's death with people I know who have gone through the same thing I did, especially parents who have lost a child. Besties, besties agad. I can talk freely about it to people from my support group morning to morning. But as I think about it, what is there to be ashamed of? After Gabby's death, it seems grief is now my specialty. Why wouldn't I share about it? Everyone will go through this at one point in their lives, go through grief. I might as well bless them with this wisdom I have gleaned along my journey. In 2 Corinthians 1, verses 3 to 4, it says, "What a wonderful God we have, the source of every mercy, and the one who so wonderfully comforts and strengthens us in our hardships and trials." And why does He do this? So that when others are troubled, needing our sympathy and encouragement, we can pass on to them the same help and comfort God has given us. And so, I offer you this book, where I wrote about the insights that I gathered in my years of being a pilgrim on this earth. I pray you will indeed find comfort through my 53 stories that I courageously lay at your feet, and be reminded that God's faithfulness reaches to the clouds. If you follow Him, but you know what? Even if you are not following Him yet, He is following you, not only to the ends of the earth, but even beyond. That's how great, that's how loving, that's how faithful our God is.